still to come with music from the Singing Sailors. Fisherman's Friends perform at the end of the show. And she's sold 2.5 million books so far. Katie Price talks about her latest novel. And talking novels, before the break, we met our 3 judges who will be presiding over our competition, The People's Novelist. Up for grabs, the chance to get a publishing deal which would put our contestants' winning novel in bookstores across the country. So let's meet our first novelist. Please welcome Deborah Jones from Dorset. So, Deborah, what do you do?
I'm a medical receptionist in a GP surgery near Bournemouth.
You've no time at all to write?
None at all,
really.
no.
What made you want to have a go in the competition?
It's just something I've always been interested in writing. I've always had a passion for reading. And I thought now is the ideal time to actually put something forward and see what happens.
So what's the title of your book?
It's called Killing Time.
Oh, nice double entendre.
Yes.
And what's it about?
It's about murder, revenge, about how somebody's hatred for another person is so strong and intense that it actually drives them to kill.
And did you have a great time writing it?
I did. I had a lot of fun.
Ever get those moments where it just wasn't working and you're not quite sure what to do?
I think sometimes. I think everything you do, you get moments like that, but it's just a case of walking away and then having a think. Then sometimes you get your inspiration from other times, so...
Let's see what the judges thought. Let's come first of all to Cathy. Cathy, what did you think of Killing Time?
I thought it's incredibly descriptive of me. I mean, you're so good at describing places, and your heroine goes to a beautiful Cornish town when her friend is killed. I think, for me, the main issue, I think, was probably structure, in that we see the friend being killed, and then Imogen, who's a police officer, I think it would be super to start with her at the funeral, and instead we see her much later on going on holiday to deal with it. And I think perhaps that's really a structural issue.
So structural problems. Penny, what do you think?
Yeah, actually, the funny thing is that because it comes under suspense and thriller, I mean, sometimes, you know, these categories are slightly arbitrary anyway, and I don't know whether you'd actually have said it was suspense and thriller, but, you know, somehow the suspense kind of slightly went when we find immediately who did it right at the beginning and why they've done it. And somehow, you know, if you'd backed off from that, it would sort of given it a much more stronger narrative, and you'd actually go, my goodness, what on earth's going on? Who is this killer and all the rest of it?
Sophie?
I really liked the way when you introduce the killer for the first time as a character, you manage to do it in a way that doesn't in any way make people suspect that it's him. Killers are often introduced in a, oh, here's the killer way, and the author doesn't know that's happening. But in this case, I think, you know, you work the killer in just like a character, so I wouldn't have suspected that character.
Well,
my issue was with the killer's motivation. I didn't quite understand why he chose those particular victims, given his overall aim.
I tell you what, it does make you want to read it, actually, just listening about it, doesn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, Deborah Jones. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Budding author number 2 is Gordon Carr from Northumberland. Now, Gordon, you're retired, so plenty of time to do a bit of writing then,
yes,
I presume.
Yes, I have.
So what's your novel called?
My novel's called Fatal Fridays.
There's a lot of fatalities and killings going on there. Fatal Fridays, and it's about what?
Well, it's about a young man who's trying to avenge the death of his father, and he vows to kill 6 people on 6 consecutive Fridays. And the people that he kills are the fathers of the people that were responsible for his father's death. If that doesn't sound too complicated.
So it's whether or not he manages to bump them all off and will he be found and all that kind of thing.
Yes, and it all works with small chapters, quick...
so it's pacey?
Yeah, pacey. Right to the very end, keeps you gripped.
Let's see if it kept our judges gripped. Penny, did it keep you gripped?
Yeah, it did. I really liked it. I thought you got really good conversations in there, and I thought they were very believable characters, and I did want to know what happened. And I loved the plot line, that sense of Fridays approaching. Was the Friday going to be the Friday that somebody else snuffed it? I just thought it was... I did enjoy it.
Sophie?
I thought it was very pacey. For me, it was almost a little too pacey in that there wasn't quite enough time for suspense to be able to build, because literally one thing was happening straight after another. But I thought it had a great structure, and you clearly know what the crucial elements are for a crime novel.
Cathy?
I think, you know, Gordon's letter, even the letter he wrote with it, was so funny. I think you're a great comic writer, to be honest with you. And I could see the humour coming out in the story, and I don't know if you know, humour would necessarily work with this. I would just love to see you write this this terribly funny novel, because I think you are terribly funny.
That's the comedy genre as well. Yeah. It's a cross-genre thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Gordon Carr.
Thank you.
Well, our third author is Chris Sharp from Worcestershire. Chris, what do you do?
I'm an addiction counsellor.
Oh, gosh, right. And does that reflect what's in your book?
I suppose it does, yes. The book is called Hooked, and it's set in an addiction treatment centre.
There's some great titles in these books, I tell you. It's set in an addiction centre, so what's it about?
OK, it's a quite an impoverished addiction treatment centre, and the characters... there's an eclectic mix of characters, both inpatients and staff, etc. And it's about their lives, their personalities, their loves and their hates,
between them all.
and their interaction between each other.
OK, let's see what the judges thought. Sophie, what did you think of this one, of Hooked?
I loved the group therapy characters and the counsellor. Thought they were great, the dynamic, the individuals and the way they interacted. I would have liked to see them more as the focus. I felt that there were almost too many peripheral characters and we didn't quite know where to look at any given time.
OK, let's go to Cathy. Cathy, what did you think?
I think, you know, your wealth of knowledge is just there on the page. I mean, you're incredibly fluent in how you describe what's going on. And there's so much wisdom there, which is a wonderful thing. I agree. I think there were so many stories. It was like you just are so eager to get it all out there. I think maybe to sort of prune it back a little bit to maybe one or two main characters.
You've clearly got 3 novels in you or more,
I think absolutely.
Penny.
Yes, and yeah, I think that was probably I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's about the structure, because at the beginning, I think you always, when you're reading a novel, you have to sympathise with somebody or empathise with somebody or like somebody at the beginning. And it was a bit difficult to know. First of all, I thought it was one person, then I thought it was another person, and I discovered it was somebody else who actually is very likeable, the therapist in charge, who I definitely want to go for a pint with. And but it was just that by that time I'd sort of gone up and down a bit before I'd got there.
Right. OK. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Sharp. Thank you. Our final aspiring author today is Jane Cable from West Stoke. So, day job or just totally writing?
My day job's being an accountant.
Oh, gosh, so it's letters rather than numbers now, then, really. Tell us about your book. What's it called?
It's called The Cheesemaker's House, and it's a romance story with quite a big dose of suspense in it. Basically, it's about a divorcee called Alice who goes to live in North Yorkshire and meets her neighbours from both the past and from the present.
She meets her neighbours from the past. There's a bit of sci-fi in here as well, and a bit of ghostliness, is there?
Yeah, I think there's a very strong element of ghost story in it.
Ooh, let's see what Cathy thought about it.
Well, it reminded me terribly of Barbara Erskine, and I love Barbara Erskine, that sort of past mixing with the present and, you know, the people who were involved in this house coming back in a way. I'm not giving too much away. And I loved that element in it. I thought that was very, very powerful. I really enjoyed that.
Penny?
And I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was very well written, engaging. I was confused. Oh, I suppose, yes, it comes under suspense, doesn't it? Because I've just written here, is it crime? But actually it was suspense as well, was what we were talking about. I thought it would be a great film, actually. I could imagine this as a TV drama. Very much, you know, with all these kind of weird people coming and going who are very similar to the sort of the same. The only thing I thought was I found Richard, one of the characters, a bit annoying. But then that was just me.
That's life, really, Penny. One or two of the characters in it are annoying, aren't they, really? Sophie?
I really loved the authorial voice. I thought that it really drew me in. But more than that, I loved the fact that the initial mystery posed is one that I could not think of a possible solution for. So that really got me hooked.
Oh, you got the prose. That's very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Jane Cable. Well done, Jane. So that's the 4 budding authors in Heat 1. Judges, having read and deliberated over the submissions from all 4 authors, you now have to decide who goes through to the final of the People's Novelist this Friday. Will it be Deborah Jones from Dorset with her novel Killing Time? Will it be Gordon Carr from Northumberland with his book Fatal Fridays. Perhaps Chris Sharp from Worcestershire with his novel Hooked. Or will Jane Cable from West Stoke triumph with The Cheesemaker's House? Judges, your time is up. Penny, can you please pass me the envelope?
Yeah. Can I just say, though, that
Yes.
this was not unanimous, it was a majority. Because the
Okay.
word that was...
Oh, right.
Okay. Just putting that out there.
Tricky.
And it was
right.
incredibly difficult.
It was
Yes.
difficult.
Wonderful, wonderful work.
Really good writing from
huge
everybody.
congratulations to
Okay.
all of you.
Deborah. Gordon. Chris. And Jane. Only one of you can go through to the final of The People's Novelist and be one step closer to getting your book published. The person going through to Friday's final is... Jane Cable! Well done! Well done you! Congratulations. Many congratulations. Stand up now.
I just a little bit. I just thought it was such an amazing achievement to get on the shortlist anyway. I never dreamt I'd get any further.
It is, out of 1,000 people. Well, you're one step closer. Bless your heart. Thank you, judges. Best of luck, Jane. Jane takes the first place in the final of The People's Novelist, which is on Friday. My thanks to all of our budding authors and, of course, to the judges, Cathy Kelly, Penny Smith and Sophie Hanna. Thank you very much indeed. Well done. Have a seat. If you want to read any of the submissions, then go to our website, itv.com/Alan. Still ahead, another best-selling author. This one sold more than 2.5 million books. Katie Price talks about her latest in Just a Mo, and with music from the Cornish Fishermen, who signed a £1 million record deal. We'll see you in a sec.